May 1945, Germany. The war was almost finished. German forces were crumbling on every front. An SS commander was transported to Third Army headquarters to be questioned. He had been captured near Munich. His unit had been among the final group still holding out. The intelligence officers needed information, defensive layouts, the whereabouts of other SS units still in hiding, but this SS commander had no intention of answering their questions. Instead, he launched into a speech. Standing in the interrogation room, wrists in cuffs, surrounded on all sides by American soldiers, he issued a warning, not to the officers questioning him, but to every American soldier serving in the Third Army. He declared that the SS would never lay down their arms, that they would wage war from the darkness, stalking American soldiers through forests, mountains, and rubble. He insisted that the war might be drawing to a close, but the bloodshed would go on. American soldiers would find no safety anywhere in Germany. They would be picked off one at a time. The SS would see to it. It was a calculated act of psychological warfare, an effort to sow fear, to make the Americans understand that winning the war wouldn't guarantee their safety, that the occupation would bring unrelenting danger. The intelligence officers reported the incident to Patton straight away, not out of fear, but because this SS commander was deliberately attempting to terrorize American soldiers, trying to get inside their heads. Within an hour, Patton walked into that interrogation room, and what he said to that SS commander became a story that rippled through the entire Third Army. Before we get into this confrontation, if you enjoy stories from World War II, go ahead and hit subscribe. The SS commander's name was Standartenführer Wilhelm Kepler. He was 38 years old, a hardened veteran of the Eastern Front. He had led an SS unit through campaigns in Russia, Poland, and ultimately Germany itself. He had witnessed the very worst the war had to offer, and he still believed Germany could prevail. When the MPs brought him into the interrogation room, he carried himself as though he was still the one giving orders. Spine straight, chin raised. His black SS uniform was filthy and shredded, but he wore it as though it were a suit of armor, as though it still carried weight, as though the war hadn't ended 3 days prior. The intelligence colonel opened with the standard questions: unit designation, current strength, the positions of other SS forces in the area. Routine questions meant to ease into harder ones later. Kessler answered exactly one, his name and rank, then refused to say another useful word. "I will tell you nothing that aids the occupation of Germany," he said in flawless English, his accent barely detectable, polished, deliberate. The colonel pressed on. "The war is over. Your cooperation could—" "The war is not over," Kessler cut in. His tone was measured and matter-of-fact, as if he were spelling out something self-evident to someone who simply didn't understand. "Germany may have surrendered, the Wehrmacht may have surrendered, but the SS does not surrender. We will keep fighting." The MPs in the room traded glances. This wasn't entirely unusual. Plenty of captured Germans refused to accept that it was over. But there was something about the way Kessler said it that set it apart. It wasn't desperation talking. It was belief. "You think you've won," Kessler went on. "You think that because Berlin has fallen and Hitler is dead, Germany is beaten. You're mistaken. The real war is only beginning." The colonel leaned back in his chair. "What exactly does that mean?" Kessler smiled. It wasn't a warm one. "It means your soldiers will never truly be safe here. You can occupy our cities, patrol our streets, plant your flags on our buildings, but you cannot watch every corner at once." He swept his gaze across the Americans in the room. The SS knows these forests, these mountains, every ruin, every cave, every last hiding place. We will melt into the shadows, and we will take your soldiers down one by one. One of the MPs spoke up. "That's a war crime, attacking occupation forces." "War crimes?" Kessler let out a short laugh. "You bombed our cities, you killed our civilians, and now you want to lecture me about war crimes? No, the rules no longer apply. This is about survival. This is Germany fighting for its future." The colonel had heard enough. Take him to the holding cells. We'll pick this up later. But as the MPs seized Kessler by the arms, he kept talking, his voice rising, making certain everyone in the room heard every word. Tell your men, tell all of them. They should be scared. They should watch their backs because we're coming. The SS is coming, and we will make them pay for what they've done to Germany. The MPs hauled him out, but his words lingered in the room. The colonel immediately sent a report directly to Patton's office, not a standard one, but an urgent one. Because Kessler wasn't merely stonewalling the interrogation, he was actively working to intimidate American forces. Patton read the report in under 5 minutes. Then he picked up the phone. Bring that SS commander back to the interrogation room. I'm on my way. When Patton walked in, Kessler was seated at the table again, still cuffed, still defiant. He looked up as Patton entered and actually smiled. General Patton, I've heard a great deal about you. Patton didn't take a seat. He stood at the far end of the table and studied Kessler in silence for a long moment, the way you might study something small and unpleasant under a lens. I hear you've been making threats, Patton said at last. I've been stating facts. Facts? Patton's voice was dry. You believe the SS is going to launch a guerrilla campaign against American forces? Not going to. Already planning to. Men are already in position. Weapons are already stashed. We've been preparing since before Berlin fell. And you think that frightens me? It should frighten your soldiers, the ones who'll die in those forests, the ones who won't see us until it's too late. Patton began moving slowly around the table. Kessler followed him with his eyes, but the smile held. Let me tell you something about fear, Patton said. You're sitting in this room believing you're being intimidating, that you're planting seeds of doubt, that my soldiers are going to hear about your threats and get uneasy, that they're going to be glancing over their shoulders every time they pass through a German town. He stopped directly behind Kessler's chair, close enough that Kessler could feel the weight of his presence. A 4-star general standing just outside his field of vision. You're wrong. Patton came back around to face him, deliberately slow, making Kessler wait for whatever came next. You want to know what my soldiers are going to think when they hear about you? They're going to think, good. The SS wants to keep fighting. That means we get to finish what we started. They've been fighting Germans for 3 years. They're very good at it, and they don't frighten easily. Kessler's smile dimmed a little. You talk about hiding in forests and mountains as though that gives you the upper hand, Patton continued, as though we'll hesitate to come after you. But we've been rooting Germans out of forests and mountains for 3 years. We're quite skilled at it by now. He placed both hands on the table and leaned in. You think you know these woods? My soldiers pushed through France, through Belgium, through the Ardennes in the dead of winter. They know how to fight in forests. They know how to track an enemy who's gone to ground. We are SS. We are nothing like the Wehrmacht soldiers you faced. You're right. Wehrmacht soldiers were professionals. You're fanatics, which makes you dangerous, but it also makes you predictable. Patton straightened up. Here's what's actually going to happen. You and every other SS member who believes they're going to wage a shadow war will be hunted down with precision. Not because you scare us, because you're a threat that needs to be put down. He moved toward the door, then stopped and turned back. You wanted to frighten my soldiers. You wanted them jumpy, sleepless, always watching their backs. But all you've managed to do is give them permission to stop extending the SS the courtesies of prisoners of war. Kessler stiffened. What does that mean? It means that if the SS is going to conduct itself like an insurgency, we're going to respond to it like one. No more standard prisoner protocols, no more routine interrogations. You want to threaten American soldiers? Fine, but understand exactly what you're inviting. The room held its breath. Every SS member we locate will be interrogated about the guerrilla operations you just described to me. And if we determine they're involved, they won't be going to a POW camp. They'll be standing